Is Cade Cunningham going to be an all-star this year? We're going to discuss that and all the other questions you guys sent in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Also, I want to let you guys know to head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the, where is it, bottom right? Yeah. Why is my finger in, I don't know how to do this. Down here. Yep, right here. Right here. You can see the website right there. You go there if you're watching this or you listen to this on a podcast platform. Again, it's LockedOnDaily.com. So, today's episode, we're answering all the questions that you guys have sent in for our mailbag edition episode. On the side, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see 3 of the highlighted questions I have gotten from you guys. Is Cade an all-star, a big man solution, and is Ivy a point guard? And along with multiple other questions, so stay tuned. Today should be a fun episode. But the first question I wanted to answer, this one was from Brandon Engel, and this was asked from a lot of people. But I have his tweet currently brought up on my PC. But he asked, how many guards realistically have a case over Cade in the All-Star game this upcoming year? Now, this is coming off of the Detroit Pistons' new The Athletic beat writer. If you guys haven't followed him yet, his name is Hunter. Make sure you guys are still following that work. His work has been really good so far. I know you guys missed James, but Hunter's going to do a great job with The Athletic as well. But he just posted an article talking about Cade Cunningham's triple-double against Madison Square Garden against the Knicks, I should say. And in this article, Cade talks about how he believes he is an all-star, and he feels like every time he's on the floor, he is the best player. So Cade kind of made his own bid here. He's kind of saying, I think I deserve to be an all-star. And now that sparked a lot of conversation about whether Cade should be an all-star this upcoming year. So I want to compare Cade's stats to some of the other guards in the East that I think is going to be his competition. So Cade this year is averaging 24 points, 9.4 assists, 7.3 rebounds. He's shooting 45% from the field. He's shooting nearly 40% from deep on 6.4 attempts. He's shooting 78% from a free throw line, which is really a career low and absolutely unacceptable. I don't know what's going on there. He needs to get that in check. True shooting percentage of 55.3%, which would be a career high, and he obviously has the Detroit Pistons winning more than they have at any other point in his career thus far. They have obviously 10 wins under the 11th seed. Right now they're tied with the Pacers and the Bulls. Now, here are the players I believe he's going to be competing against, and you guys can say whether or not you believe they have a better case than him. The first player is going to be Damian Lillard. Now, he is on the Milwaukee Bucks, obviously, and they are 12-11. The thing with Dame, I don't think Cade could get an argument over Dame. Even if you want to try to argue his stats are better than Dame's, I'm probably not going to come out here and make that argument. But even if you want to try and make the argument that Cade's a better playmaker and he's making stuff happen in that department, first of all, Dame is Dame. He has the name recognition. That's not going away. 2, he's been much more efficient than Cade. He has a 62.2 true shooting percentage. And the Milwaukee Bucks figure to be obviously much better than the Pistons. Now, they are obviously just 2 games ahead at this point, but they are starting to put it together. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. You expect them by the time All-Star voting's over for the Bucks to probably even be higher than 6. So I don't think he's going to have an argument over Dame. So I think that's one guard in the East that has an argument over him. The next one is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is having a terrible year to his standards this year. He's averaging 17 points a game, 8.4 assists, 42% from the field, 33% from deep. And the Pacers are not as good as they were last year. So they're tied in record with with the Pistons. I think Cade's just been flat out way better than Tyrese. So no, I don't think Tyrese has have an argument over Cade. And that's a guy who was an all-star last year. So I think Cade takes his spot. The next player is Jalen Brunson. I don't think I need to get too far into this. Jalen Brunson has a better case than Cade. Jalen Brunson's 25.5, 7.7 assists, and is largely much more efficient than Cade. He has a 62.4 true shooting percentage, and he's leading one of the best teams in the entire conference at 14-9, their 4th seed. So no, I don't think he has a case over Cade, or Cade has a case over Jalen Brunson either. So that's 2 guards. We're now 2 guards in, and that have a case over Cade. The next guard is Trae Young. Trae Young, another guy who's having a struggling season. He's shooting 38% from the field, 31% from deep. Really struggling this year. He has not been better than Cade. Cade has a better argument than him. So we stay at 2. The next guard that I think of, maybe Zach LaVine. No, Zach LaVine doesn't have a case over Cade. He's on the same Bulls team that also is not very good compared to the Pistons. They're at the same record, so it's not like the record is against, or favors Zach LaVine, I would say. While Zach LaVine has been much more efficient, he's not being asked to do nearly as much. He's not playmaking as much. He's not as good of a defender. He's not active on the glass as much as Cade is. He's a much more efficient player right now. He's a better shooter than Cade is, but a primary off-ball role for Zach LaVine. Having a really good year, but I don't think he's been better than Cade this year. But again, Zach LaVine has been really good this year. 50% from the field, 43% from deep on 7.7 attempts, 22 points a game. He's been damn good. He's just not been as good as Cade, and he's not being asked to do what Cade does. So right now we are still only at 2 guards. The next guard is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo should get the case over Cade. If it's between those two, I feel like I would not be being objective if I came on here and said that LaMelo shouldn't get one over Cade. If it came down to those two, and I think both of them can make it. But if it's between one of the two, I think it has to go to LaMelo. LaMelo's averaging 31 points a game, 6.9 assists, 5.4 rebounds, and it's not like he's been largely inefficient. He's slightly more efficient than Cade, 56.4 true shooting percentage, 31 points a game. Now, the only thing that could work against LaMelo is the fact that the Hornets have not been good. They're 7-17. But usually, for a guy if you're averaging over 30 on a team like this, usually you'll still get the nod. Especially when you are a likable player like LaMelo and a popular player like LaMelo, you'll still get votes. You'll still get the respect of your peers and your coaches. So I think LaMelo may have a case over Cade at this point, but that right there is 3 players. We got Dame, we got LaMelo, and we got Jalen Brunson. Those are the 3 guards I can say for sure. I would say probably. And LaMelo is a toss-up because of the team record. But I think I'm being fair in saying that LaMelo should get an all-star nod this year. That's 3 guys. The other guards that I didn't bring up that will have a case around that time, the Philadelphia 76ers, they got Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. Paul George has been really not very good this year. And Tyrese Maxey has not been as good as he has been in previous years. I think Cade's been better than both of them. Don't think that's much of a, I don't think that's like a hot take or anything. I think Cade has been better than Tyrese Maxey. We can pull up Tyrese Maxey's stats here. He's averaging 24 points a game on 40% from the field and 29% from deep. I think Cade has been flat out better. He's a better playmaker. He's been more efficient. He's scoring at a more efficient rate, and he's leading his team to more wins. So I don't think that Tyrese Maxey has an argument over him. No one on the Wizards. The Raptors, the only guy on their team is going to be Scotty Barnes, and he's a wing. I think Cade's been better than Scotty this year. No one on the Nets. The Hawks, we mentioned Trae. Don't think Trae's been better than Cade at all. Milwaukee, you'll get Dame. Miami, Jimmy, but Jimmy doesn't really take the regular season serious, and I think Cade's been just flat out better than Jimmy this year. He's averaging 19 points a game. Now, he has been really efficient in those 19 points per game, but he's not putting up the same numbers as Cade. Is Jimmy better in the playoffs? For sure. We know what Jimmy is in the playoffs, but he doesn't take the regular season as serious, and that's fine. But that's what all-star voting is for. So I don't think Jimmy has an argument over Cade outside of his name. You got the Knicks, obviously. We got Brunson, like we mentioned. The Magic don't have a guard that should get it over Cade. The only 2 guys on the Magic that would get votes over Cade is maybe Franz and Paolo. And I think there's an argument that Cade's been just as good, if not better than both of those guys as well. Then you got Boston. Here, this is where you get to like the flat-out guys that are going to get it. So we mentioned 3 guys beforehand. We got Brunson, we got Dame, and we got potentially LaMelo. Now you get to the top of the conference. Cleveland is going to have 2 guards come out of there. You're going to have Garland, and you're going to have Donovan Mitchell. That's 5. You're going to get 5 right there. There's no way that Cleveland at 21-4, with the trajectory that they're on, they're not going to get both those guys into the All-Star game. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, I expect to make it. Now you get to the Boston Celtics. Will the Celtics get one of the guard spots? I don't think there's been a guard on the Celtics that has been better than Cade. However, the Boston Celtics are going to be either first or second in the Eastern Conference. Derek White is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. He's been efficient within his role, averaging 17 points a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Doesn't have the numbers that Cade does, but again, he's on a winning team, and he's a likable role player. So could Derek White get more votes than Cade? Maybe, but I think Cade's having a better season than Derek White, and I would vote for Cade over him. And then you got Jrue Holiday, who, again, is another likable role player, but he's only averaging 12 points a game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. If he gets in, it's simply because of the Celtics record. And the Celtics don't have one of those like Golden State Warrior, Detroit Pistons in 04, 05, when their record is just so much better than everybody else's that you have to have a 4 All-Stars. It's not like the Atlanta Hawks when they're just breezing by everybody else. Not even Cleveland's doing that anymore. So if they were on that kind of trajectory when they were just better than everyone else by a large margin, I could see it. But I don't think one of the guards from Boston get a spot over Cade. So I think you got 5 spots that are locked up over Cade. I think you got Dame. I think you got Brunson. I think you got Garland and Mitchell. That's 4. I think at this point, voters would give it to LaMelo over Cade because he's averaging 31 points a game on slightly better efficiency than Cade, despite the team record. And then I think that 6th spot goes to Cade Cunningham. I think that's who it goes to. I think Cade will be an all-star this year. The main thing for Cade, maintain these numbers, which I expect him to do. I actually think his numbers will get better. But the main thing for Cade, the Pistons have to be in the play-in race. They cannot fall to the bottom of the conference. They cannot fall to like 14th, 15th, 13th in the East. Right now they are 11th. If they move up in the standings, that would be great for his chances. If they just stay around 11th, 12th, and they're like in the 2-win margin, 3-win margin of the next, the play-in at the 10th seed, then I think that does great stuff for his argument. But right now, do I think Cade's been playing like an all-star? 100%. Do I think there's not many guards in the East that have been playing better? 100%. Do I think he should be an all-star based off this play? 100%. But we're not there yet. The Pistons have to continue to win at the level that they're winning at, continue to be in the play-in race, and he should be in there. He should make it. But it's going to be close. And, again, like I said, if there's one player I think could sneak in over Cade because of his likability and team record, it's Derek White. I think there's a chance they might give Derek White an all-star nod because he's a likable role player, how good he is on defense, and because of what he provides for Boston's defense and overall team success. But if you're getting 6 guards out of the East, which you may not get 6 guards, but I think Cade is deserving of making an Eastern All-Star spot, especially if the Pistons continue to win at the pace that they're winning at. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Do you guys believe that Cade Cunningham will be an all-star this upcoming year? Do you think he should be an all-star? And if you don't, who do you have over him? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. When we come back, what is the big man solution to the Pistons team? The big man talk, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, it's been talked about nonstop, and a lot of you guys sending questions asking about it. We'll talk about that when we come back. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And as I've told you guys many of times, I started using FanDuel years ago. I'm still using it to this day. I have a lot of fun using it. It's super easy to use, super self-explanatory, but most importantly, again, super fun to use. And you'll get started $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I do want to remind you guys again to head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you will get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. Again, LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, you'll get that Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. Now, I do want to let you guys know, if you guys can hear my dog barking in the background, I apologize. She's crazy. I don't know what's going on. It sounds like someone's knocking at the door, and she's losing her mind. So I apologize for that. Also, I want to let you guys know, by the time you guys listen to this, it probably will be my birthday at that point. I turn 1,000 years old. So if you want to wish the old man a happy birthday, let me know. Actually, you know what? Let me stop going with that troll because you guys might start calling me OG, old man. I'm only 27. Let's calm down. But yeah, I just want to let you guys know. I wasn't going to go on with the troll, but I second guessed it halfway through because I know what you guys are going to start saying. And if someone tries calling me OG or something like that, we're going to have some problems. So moving on. The next question that we got was actually from one of my friends in real life. His name's Deontay. And he asked a question that a lot of Pistons fans also sent in, and it's been a main topic of the Pistons community. I talked about it on the Pistons Pulse last week with Omari Sankofa and Bryce Simon. Both of them came on the podcast last week and talked about it with me. It's been one of the most talked about conversations within the Pistons community, and it's the big man situation the Pistons have. So he asked the question, does Jalen Duren need to be traded and the Pistons go to the draft to grab a big? So this is the situation the Pistons find themselves in with Jalen Duren in the Pistons starting center spot. Jalen Duren is entering or is in his third season, which means this upcoming offseason, you will be able to discuss extension talks. Now, will Jalen Duren want to start talking about an extension? 100%. He's going to want to get that extension. Will the Pistons want to give him one? At this point, I think very clearly not at this point with how he's played. I don't think they'd give him an extension. So you could go into next season, into restricted free agency with him not having an extension, him being a restricted free agent. Do you want to go that route? I mean, maybe you could, but I have my feeling is that Pistons won't go that route. I feel like if they don't move him, there's only two situations I can see with Jalen Duren by the start of next season. Either he improves and they give him an extension, or he doesn't improve and they look to replace him in the offseason. Because they were trying to get a big man this past offseason with Isaiah Hartenstein, with Nicholas Claxton. They were linked to a bunch of centers, and they were going to try to aggressively go after Hartenstein, but he didn't even leave OKC without a deal as soon as free agency opened up. So I do think there was already some, some interest in moving on from him, at least as the starting center. Not completely, but at least as the starting center, go get someone else. That's first. I want to get that out the way. This is the situation the Pistons have with discussing trading Duren. And this was my concern in the offseason. You probably should not trade him or consider trading him at this point right now. Because he's so young and because he's not played well. Now his value is tanked. Now he has more value to the Pistons than he does possibly, I believe, in the trade market. That's why this past offseason, I argued all offseason. My main point was you are taking a risk either way. Either you trade one of these players. I was talking about Duren and Ivey. Now, Ivey's looked good, so the risk wouldn't have been bad for me with Ivey. But my overall point was one of those two players, their value is going to be higher during the offseason. When the season starts, if they don't play well, their value is going to tank, and you won't be able to get as much value for them. That was the risk reward that you were going to get. Could they play better and the value goes higher? Yes. But could they play worse and the value goes lower? Yes, as well. Now, you're seeing Jaden Ivey play a lot better, and I think he's clearly defined. He has some kind of role in the Pistons moving forward. Jalen Duren, on the other hand, is not playing well. He's having career-low numbers across the board, and there's been a noticeable trade-off when he leaves the floor and Isaiah Stewart comes on. So the problem is, if you were to try trade Duren this season, you're not getting much in return. So I don't think it makes sense for the Pistons to trade him now at this point. Unless you're attaching him with something else that gets you something good, I don't think that he has the value that makes it worth your time at this point. So now that brings up the next question. How do the Pistons address the starting five spot? Because it's been so clearly an issue over the last few weeks, and Jalen Duren has struggled on defense so far this year. So what's the solution now? Do you just start Stu? Well, if you start Stu's in his best spot right now as a backup five, and he's thriving. Finally, like everyone's wanted. Do you rattle that and bring him into the starting lineup? Does he play the same way against the starters? Does he fit with the starters against other starters? That's all kinds of things that you have to consider. And what does it do to Duren's psyche if you bring him off the bench? I even saw Bryce and Omari brought up the possibility of playing Paul Reed at the starting center position, Isaiah Stewart the backup five, and sitting Duren for a week or two to be like, hey, we gotta send a message. You gotta be better than this. We'll bring you back. But we want to send a message to you. I don't know if any of those things, any of those options are realistic options because I worry about what it would do to Jalen Duren's psyche and how he would react to it. Maybe he would react great to it, but that is a concern of mine. So really the only two options I think the Pistons have is continue to rock it out with Jalen Duren at the starting center and just hope that things get better. Maybe start Ausar at the 3 when he can play and hope that Ausar and Duren can help on the defensive end. That Ausar can help Duren, and maybe the Pistons can have a better defense that way. That is something I think could happen. It's possible, but is Ausar improved enough offensively to make it worth it? We'd have to see it. We haven't even got to see Ausar play more than like 19 minutes within the game because of his minutes restriction. So I think that's a possibility. Or the other possibility, obviously, is just to start Isaiah Stewart, bring Jalen Duren off the bench, and develop him in smaller minutes and give most of the minutes to Isaiah Stewart. I don't think the Pistons are going to try to draft a big to replace. If they were to go into the offseason with the idea of, and this is entering his second half of the question, if the Pistons go into the offseason and say, okay, we want to get a starting center on this team, I don't think they're doing it through the draft. I think they may look in free agency. Miles Turner is an unrestricted free agent. I think they may look in the trade market. A guy like Nicholas Claxton, who's been available and has been rumored to the Detroit Pistons over the last year and a half. I don't think they get it out of the draft. I think the main thing with their big is that they want a defensive center. So relying on a defensive center immediately out of a rookie out the draft, it's not a good situation. It's not a good idea, and it's how you end up in a situation like you've had with Jalen Duren when you're trying to get a 20-year-old, 21-year-old to be at this pace defensively to help you play and win games, and he's just not at that pace. Now, not every big man's Donovan Clingan. If you could get a Clingan, then maybe, but not every big man is that. So if the Pistons do decide to upgrade their center position, I think it will be through free agency or the trade market. But right now, all the questions about what you do with Jalen Duren, I think you either start him, continue to start him, and start Ausar next to him and see if that can help him defensively, because he did look better defensively last year when he played next to Ausar, because Ausar can plug a lot of holes. So maybe you try that and see how that goes. Maybe that plays a little better. B, you just trust Duren to get better as the season goes on, develops, and maybe he does. He's 21 years old and he has potential, and he flashes it every now and then. So maybe you just hope that he gets better and you just rock it out and take the L's and rely more on his development. Or C, you just start Isaiah Stewart, play Duren 18 minutes a game until he's able to increase his load and is able to, or shows you the improvement defensively that you want to see. Look, man, the last game, I think what did it for Duren with a lot of people, and I can't blame anyone for this, Jalen Duren got beat down the floor last game, fouled the trailing dunker, and then when the guy missed the free throw, he stood still and allowed a putback dunk. Not a missed box out. It's not that he went to box out and missed it. He literally just stood there with his hands on his hips. The guy went right around him and put back dunk. That kind of thing would have been a time, if I was the coach, would have been timeout and you're sitting on the bench the rest of the game. And for what it's worth, JB did sub him out after that, and he sat for a long stretch. So it's plays like that leave you thinking, like, why? Why are you doing this? Why does he deserve to get minutes? Why should you continue to play him? You have to hold these players accountable. So while Jalen Duren has a ton of potential, and the Pistons would rather him just develop and get to the point where he can be what they want him to be moving forward, you still have to hold him accountable. And when he's not playing well and he's not holding up his end of the bargain on the defensive end of the floor, and you have possessions like that, and you have situations like that, you have to hold him accountable. And you've gotten to a decent enough sample size that shows the team's better with Stu than Duren on the floor. We're at 25 games. I think a change is coming. Don't think it's coming through a trade. I don't think the Pistons are going to give up on a 21-year-old when his value is this low now. At least at this point, I don't know if they're going to. I wouldn't expect them to do it. And to answer the second half of the question, if they did want to go address it, I don't think it'd be through the draft. It'd be through trade or free agency this offseason. There are some guys that should be available. I think they'd be aggressive in that market if Jalen Duren continues to not improve the rest of the year. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. What do you guys think is the answer to that question? Does Duren need to be traded? How do the Pistons handle it? And if the Pistons do want to upgrade the center position, do they do it through the draft, or do they do it through free agency and the trade market? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. When we come back, is Jaden Ivey showing that he is a point guard, or is he showing the exact opposite? We'll talk about that when we come back. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were magically paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overcharges. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 50 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And also head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you will get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. So another question we got from the mailbag from a lot of you listeners, asked the same question was, is Jaden Ivey playing well without Cade, and is he proving that he is or is not a point guard? The specific question I'm looking at here is, can you give us the stats of what the team looks like when Ivey runs the point verse next to Cade? Do you think his play would look way better if he were only at the 2? So it's hard to find the numbers for Ivey's actual stats, like his points, assists, rebounds, for the minutes where he's not playing with Cade. I tried looking for him. I couldn't find them. What I can give you guys is the team numbers when he's with Cade and when he's not with Cade, which I think matters more. And when Cade and Ivey are both on the floor, the team has a negative 2.19 or 2.91 net rating. It's slowly going down and down and down. At the beginning of the year, first 10-ish games, they had a positive net rating. Now it's starting to fall. I don't think that's so much about Cade and Ivey. I think that's more so about the starting lineup they are sharing most of their minutes with has gotten worse and worse and worse as the season went on, and that's why we've discussed over the last few episodes that the starting lineup needs to change. When Cade plays without Ivey, they have actually a better net rating at minus 0.62, which read into that for what you will. When Jaden Ivey is playing without Cade, it's their worst net rating, which is a minus 4.63. The offense goes down 4.5 points per 100 possessions, and the defense does get slightly better than when they're on the floor together. The defense, when they're both on the floor, is 117.7. When Jaden Ivey is on the floor and Cade's off, it's 114.66. However, again, like I said, when Cade's on the floor and Ivey's Ivey's off the floor, the defensive rating is still 114. So I think that has more to do with the starting lineup that those two guys are sharing together right now, and that needs to change. I don't think it has so much to do with the both of them. However, if you look at those numbers, what you see is the offense stays where it's at when Cade's on the floor without Ivey. When Ivey's on the floor without Cade, it crashes, which is what has matched the eye test. I've said for a long time, people before the draft who scouted Ivey and were really high on Ivey all said that they did not believe he was a point guard. He was an off guard. He was a combo guard. He is a scoring guard. And that's what I've maintained throughout his career with the Pistons. There are a section of fans that believe maybe he is a point guard. I think what you've seen this year, from the net rating, from the offensive rating, and from your eye test, Jaden Ivey is not a point guard. He plays better when he's next to Cade. He plays better when he's able to attack a tilted defense. He plays better when he's able to create off of someone else's gravity and the advantages created by someone else. Does it mean he can't do anything with the ball in his hands? No. Does that mean he can't split time as a secondary playmaker? No, he does those things well, but as a secondary playmaker. When he's a primary guy on the floor, when he's your primary point guard, the Pistons have struggled, and he has struggled. So, again, this goes back to why I'm so confused why the Pistons didn't get a backup point guard. They still have a roster spot open. I don't understand why they didn't. The quickest, easiest explanation is, maybe they just wanted to give Ausar Thompson a chance when he comes back full strength to be that guy. As games are going on, I don't think that's how they want to use him. They've given Ausar Thompson a little bit on-ball stuff in the minutes he's played, but it's not like they've been running him as point guard. So I don't know if that's really the case. I think they really thought Jaden Ivey, at least JB, I think they believed that Jaden Ivey could be a point guard, could run the second unit. It just has not gone very well. And I don't think they're doing him any favors because when he does run the bench unit, he's also running without any other guys that can really break down a defense. Cade can survive without Ivey on the floor somewhat to an extent because Cade's the engine. Cade's the guy who's creating the shots anyway. So without Ivey, he's still able to create advantages for others. That's not the case with Ivey. Ivey is not able to consistently create advantages and take advantage of those for others as the primary ball handler. He can flash it, but he's not going to be able to consistently do that, and that's why their offense struggles. So I think Ivey should be moved off ball even when he's not playing with Cade. When he's not playing with Cade, he can be your main scorer. He can still be the main scorer with the bench unit. But the Pistons should be acquiring a primary ball handler, a vet point guard, whether it's or even if you do want to go the route of giving Asar Thompson the playmaking reps. Okay, then go that route, but let them be the primary ball handler and let Ivey be your primary scorer in those lineups. That he will thrive in. We see him thrive in it all the time. Asking him to be the lone playmaker in a lineup and create offense, it's not going to go well. And it hasn't went well through most of the year. So I think he's answering. Is Jaden Ivey a point guard? No. Is he a combo guard? Yes. Is he a fine scorer? Yes. Has he gotten better than this year? Yes. But does that mean he should be playing point guard? No. The team has not looked good when he's at point guard. And not only are you putting the team up for failure when you do it, you're putting him in a tough spot and really setting him up for failure when you continue to do it. So I don't know how the Pistons plan on doing it because they didn't get a backup point guard in the offseason. And Asar Thompson still is not off his minutes restriction. He's actually missed the last 2 games due to an injury. So don't know what their solution is going to be to that. I think we're probably just going to see Jaden Ivey continue to play point guard. And I don't think that's really fair to him because I don't think he's going to thrive in that department. But it is what it is. To wrap up the episode, though, I do want to have some quick hitting questions answered here at the end. If you could add one player from the 2015-16 roster to this current team, who would it be? This one was asked by Pistons Talk. Andre Drummond, no doubt about it. That's when he was making third-team All-NBA. Him as the starting center in his prime would make a huge difference with this team. By far, easy. It's not even close. Andre Drummond. Next question is, you can only keep 4 Pistons. All others on the trade market. Who do you keep? I'm keeping Cade, Jaden Ivey, Asar, and Ron Holland. Those are the 4 I'm holding on to. Do you think the team will buy or sell at the deadline? And what would either way ideally look like? I don't think it's too early right now for me to know what they would do at the deadline. I'm going to go ahead and pass on that question. You guys can call me a coward for avoiding it. It is what it is, but I think it's too early. I can't really get a good idea either way which way they would go. What's some other ones? A lot of these questions you guys asked would take like 10 minutes for me to answer. If Cade plays 70-plus games this year, what do you believe the team's ceiling is? If he plays 70-plus wins, I think their ceiling is like the 8th seed. That's what I would say. What are your favorite trade targets if you ship out Duren? Again, I don't want to answer that right now. I think we're a little too early, but so I'm a pass on that one. Again, you guys can call me a coward if you guys would like. Top 3 moments from this season so far. This past game against the Knicks for Cade, the Lakers win, and them making it. Look, even with them, the game to get to the final game of the in-season tourney. Because the vibes were high. After the game, everyone was smiling. Everyone was excited. Even with how it went in that game, I think how they played to get there and how they were reacting once they did actually get there, I think was a top 3 moment for me. So those are the top 3 moments I'd say of this season so far. We'll wrap it up there. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. Stay safe out there. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers. But like I said, stay safe out there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.